I'm Eric Chemi, and this is Politely Pushy.
Christina Martinez, CEO of Traject, thanks for joining me on the podcast today. I've got so many questions. I'm really excited to chat with you. You're the CEO of, according to LinkedIn, 2 different companies. I know Traject, Planoly, there's so many companies involved. I want to get into a little bit of your life story. How did you go from Princeton to Teach for America to CEO of a tech company? So much to talk about. Thank you for joining me on the show today.
Yeah, excited to be here.
So walk me through CEO of Traject, Planoly. There's multiple brands here. This is, digital marketing command center for small and medium-sized businesses. Explain it to me from the perspective that you see it. How do you, when you wake up in the morning, how do you see your job and what are you working on?
Yeah, so Traject is, like you said, we're building the digital marketing command center for SMBs, marketers, and the agencies who serve them. And I really see our company as a centralized place where a business or an agency aiming to help businesses build their company can come and have everything that they need under one roof, under the Traject roof, to power their digital marketing presence and help them accelerate sales and overall build their business and reputation online. And we offer a number of products that aid businesses in doing that. Currently, we operate in the social media management space, in the reputation management space, in the SEO space, and then we have an underlying data product that helps our customers tie all of those different marketing spaces together, so that we can aid these businesses in building their livelihood and building their business, which is really what gets me up in the morning.
Who is the typical customer? What type of business? Because I had an insurance startup for a while. We were a small business, and so much of it was digital marketing, right? How do you reach people? So I think about that agency world, but then I think about restaurants. I think about dentists. I think about contractors. I think about the service businesses in my area. I live in northern New Jersey. There's the dog groomer businesses. There's all kinds of stuff. So who is your typical inbound customer, and who are the customers that you're trying to go after right now?
We have customers in all of those different verticals. So we have 2 types of typical inbound customers. We have the owner-operated mid-sized business, and it can be in any one of those spaces that you mentioned and more. We have restaurants, dentists, doctors' offices, independent contractors, folks that are building a business that requires them to have an online presence to get customers and to retain customers. And that's a really broad set of verticals, but the goal for these individuals is very similar. It's, they have this brand, this business that they really care about, and they need to excel at digital marketing in addition to running their entire business, right? These aren't necessarily folks that are doing marketing day in and day out every single day. It's a portion of what they do. And we find that we're really effective at helping them do that because we do specialize in digital marketing. And then we have digital agencies, and the digital agencies that we serve typically have those SMB customers that I just talked about as their customers. So we have this sort of 2-pronged strategy of the inbound customers that come to us, and those are the same types of customers that we are building our products for, that we are intending to target, that we are talking to on a daily basis to make sure that we are offering them the best products possible.
And then before we get into more of the business questions, I think it's so important, just your own life story, right? Because anyone can look you up and say, you went to Princeton, molecular biology, neuroscience, then you're doing Teach for America. Then at some point you're working at Google, you're getting an MBA from Stanford, and you just graduated from Stanford 4 years ago, and now you're the CEO of a company. So are you a genius? How did you get so quickly? How did you get so quickly to the top? And talk about the reasons for the moves. Was it planned? Was this how you envisioned your life and career path, or some surprising changes along the way? I'm curious how you got to this point.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a genius. I think there was a lot of right time, right place, right time involved. But I always approached my career as I wanted to continue to chase things that were giving me energy. And when things weren't giving me energy, or I wasn't learning at the pace that I wanted to, I always reserved the option for myself to go and try something new. It's interesting. A lot of folks think of the 10,000 hour rule as a way to become an expert in something. If you just dedicate 10,000 hours of your life to something, you become an expert. And I think to some extent that is true, but there's real power in, allowing your passions to drive where you go, even if the first thing that you choose isn't the thing that you decide to dedicate tons and tons of hours to. So I took a little bit more of a winding path than maybe some, as you alluded to at the beginning of the question. I studied molecular biology in college because I loved it. I just loved science. And ultimately, the path that I took after college was not to remain in science, but to go and teach it, which was something that, because of my upbringing and the sort of values that my parents instilled in me, was something that I felt really passionately about. And then after a number of years teaching, I was living in the Bay Area at the time. I saw sort of, with the return of the economy doing better, it was then 2010, and tech was really growing a lot. I really wanted to get into that scene because of the scalability of it and the excitement and the newness. So joined Google in a number of different capacities. After that, like you said, went to Stanford to get my MBA, and out of Stanford, I joined a private equity company as an operator, which is ultimately how I landed here at Traject. We're a private equity owned company. But, it was really a journey of figuring out what motivated me and chasing that down. And as that, adjusted and changed, as I tried new things in my career, I just continued to say yes to new opportunities. And I think that's what really helped in getting me where I am, is, always being open to the next thing and always saying yes when something new was presented to me, so that I could seize that opportunity and see where it took me.
And how did you become a CEO so quickly? So despite, people may want to learn, people may want to increase their ability to get more experience. Like you said, hey, when the pace of the learning isn't what you want, you go do something else. But those people don't necessarily then rise to the top of their organization. So what do you think is your strength? What stood out to you for the private equity company to say, hey, you're so good, we want to just install you and put you in charge of one of our holding companies here?
Yeah, Alpine Investors and ASG are they have this program, and Alpine Investors is our private equity backer. ASG is the subset of Alpine Investors who invests in these software companies, Traject being one of them. They have this philosophy, and their philosophy is a people first philosophy, where they invest in people, and when people are able to show them that they have critical attributes for a job like an executive role, including a CEO role, they make a bet on those people and put them in positions that give them a ton of responsibility and a ton of accountability for doing a good job. And in general, I've thought it's a pretty successful strategy for them, because they're able to get folks who have a lot of drive to want to be in an executive position, but isn't something you'd necessarily get with a traditional sort of trying to work your way up the corporate ladder. So I was very lucky that I found them, and that they gave me the opportunity first to have a couple of different executive positions within other companies in the ASG portfolio. And then when this opportunity arose, to take over as CEO of Traject, which I just think was an incredible opportunity and was a huge show of faith in my abilities and my leadership potential.
How has your learning been now? I'm sure you're learning a lot every day, because it's not a role, like people aren't a CEO until they're a CEO, right? So then the challenges they face are the first time they're facing those challenges. So what has that been like for you? Are there mentors you reach out to? Are there other people who say, hey, how would you do this if you're in my position? Because the buck stops with you, right? Like, you're responsible for these decisions. And typically, if the question was easy, somebody lower down would have solved it. Usually you're only getting the hardest questions up the chain because no one's figured it out yet.
Yeah, I am very lucky that I have an executive team that is amazing. And every week we are on calls together to solve these thorny problems that inevitably come up all the time. And I have, 3 division presidents who work with me, who are CEOs in their own right of these brands that we operate, and are just really amazing thought partners. So I'm very lucky that I have that sort of support and folks where we can just really have an open debate about the problems that we're trying to solve and the best way to get to that solution. So I do feel like I have, a really awesome network within Traject. I also have a really great network within the larger Alpine community, because there are a number of other individuals with a similar background to me who are in pretty high profile executive leadership roles, and are making similar decisions every day. It's likely that somebody within the network of other CEOs at Alpine has faced the problems that I'm facing. So I always feel like I can reach out to folks, get their opinion, hop on a call. Everybody's very accessible, which I think what you're alluding to there is it's essential. You can't be making decisions in a vacuum. So surrounding myself with people who can help in that decision making and make it better is really important.
You mentioned the other brands, so I understand Traject is it's a brand itself, but it has other brands that are part of it. So how do you think about that company structure? How would you describe it?
Yeah, so Traject is the company. Traject has grown primarily through acquisition of other brands. We refer to the brands internally either as brands or as products. So if you're familiar with another software company, Atlassian, it's a similar model where Atlassian has, Jira and Confluence and Trello and a bunch of products that have a similar goal, though their functionality differs. Traject is similar in that respect. We, as a company, have a goal of being the digital marketing command center for SMBs, marketers, and agencies, and we have specific products and specific brands that roll up to the Traject brand name that help us do that. And each of these products are sort of purpose-built for what they are intending to do, which is they're all a little bit different from one another.
So walk me through either one of your most popular products or the one you're most proud of. So give me a real world example of, okay, this particular type of customer would use this particular kind of product and get this particular result. What does that little life cycle look like?
Yeah, I'll walk you through one of our flagship product, which is Grade Us. So Grade Us is the brand that started Traject before Traject was Traject. And Grade Us is a reputation management tool. So what a business is able to do with Grade Us is they are able to encourage customers who have used their service to review them. And they can then respond to those reviews. They can monitor what is being said so that they can take feedback back to their team and action on relevant feedback. But the real important piece of this particularly for small businesses, especially local businesses for Grade Us, is that they are asking for those reviews. So many times what we see for, a small, dentist office or independent contractor or a restaurant is they don't ask for reviews and therefore they don't get very many of them. And then when new customers go to see if they want to try the service that this business provides, there isn't a ton of feedback there from previous customers. So it's really important for these businesses to ask for those reviews and then to get them posted online where others can see them. And Grade Us is a very streamlined product to help businesses do that.
You're talking like Google reviews, Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews, that type of thing, right?
Exactly. Yep.
You're right, because there are some companies that are very good. And you'll go to their site. It's like, oh, they've got 1,000 reviews. There are 4.8. They must be fine. And then there's the ones where it's like 3 reviews and it's a 2-star average because 2 people complained, right? You have 1 5 and 2 1s, and it averages pretty bad. And it does make you wonder, right? Is anyone paying attention? Do I want to go and call these people? I'm not sure about that.
Right. And particularly when a consumer is making a decision about a business that they want to visit or buy from, it's important to them to see that feedback from other folks online. And it's important to them to see more than 3 reviews so that they can sort of pattern recognize, what is this company really about? And are they going to deliver the service that they are promising to deliver?
So how does a small business, medium business, how do they even figure out how to figure this? So like they don't even know how to begin to do this a lot of times, right? Because you have a lot of competition. There are a lot of other companies out there that cater to the smaller businesses for their digital marketing. How do they even begin their framework to figure out who they want to partner with and where they want to spend that percentage of their marketing dollars that just goes into the vendors as opposed to the actual final eyeballs?
Yeah, that's actually one of the key problems that we want to solve, that we believe that we're differentiated as Traject. Because if you are a a business that is looking for digital marketing software tools, you have over 9,000 options. There's just an enormous amount of options that you could choose from. So what we aim to do as Traject is to take the mission critical options for what a business needs to increase their digital presence and grow their business, and offer that to folks with really powerful, deep functionality solutions without all of the complexity of needing to audit, 5 different tools in social media and a bunch more different tools in other areas. So we're aiming to be the one-stop shop for a small business to be able to come and get all of the solutions that they need. But right now, the way that that our customers typically find us is they'll search for us online when they have a need, like I need to increase my review count, or I need to figure out how to grow on Instagram, and our products will come up, and hopefully the business will go and buy them, and then we're able to sort of introduce them to the Traject brand and the other products that we have under our roof that would be able to help them in different areas.
I'm struck by the parallel here, right? Because you have to compete with your own digital marketing, your own SEO. You need to stand out among the other 9,000 companies that you said. So not only is the service that you're providing other companies for their digital marketing, but so much of your growth is going to be based on how good are you at your own digital marketing.
Yeah, yes. And that's part of the reasons why we are excited to be in this space, is because we really are in it for our own business as well. And by a lot of different categorizations, we are a mid-sized business. So we understand what these business owners are going through and the challenges that they're facing. And we're facing a lot of the same ones ourselves. And we're building the tools that will hopefully help ameliorate some of those issues.
When you look at the news landscape right now, you see okay, cookies coming and going, Apple's adding a lot more privacy, maybe that's harder for marketers. And you just see some of the changes in the landscape. Hey, TikTok's growing and taking eyeballs off of Facebook or Instagram. And this is what all small businesses looking at. Like, how am I going to reach my customers? Where are they? What's your perspective from your part of the food chain on how the world has changed a little bit? Because maybe it's not just, okay, buy up ads on Facebook and Google, right? Maybe that was 5 years ago, a little more simplicity there. It's getting more complex. It's getting more nuanced.
It is getting a lot more complex. And it feels like every time I get asked that question, the answer remains, it's getting more complex. And that's been the case for the past 15 years. So I really empathize with our customers who are trying to stay ahead of this landscape. One of the big trends that we've been seeing, which you alluded to, is video content and TikTok becoming more and more prevalent and taking eyeballs, not necessarily from other social media platforms, though that's happening to some extent, but just like the mind share of individuals is becoming more and more concentrated on this video content. So what we try to do is within our suite of products, we try to keep up with those trends and try to stay at the forefront of that. So for example, one of our products, Planoly, is a visual planner for social media content. Very, very good at image planning, particularly on Instagram. And we are moving the functionality of that product into the video planning space because that's where the industry is going. And with a particular emphasis on making sure that folks have the tools that they need to plan TikTok videos. So we're doing everything that we can to try and boil down some of these trends that we're seeing into, okay, what's really important for our customers, and then provide them with the tools so that they can action on those trends without having to do a whole bunch of research to try and figure out where's the right place to be. We are aiming to get that in front of them and make it easy for them so that they don't have to do all of that heavy lifting themselves.
Is there a big growth area that you're seeing right now in terms of one of your businesses, one of your brands, one of your products? Is there something where it's like, okay, everyone is now rushing, whether it's into video or we need more reviews? Is there something in particular that you're struck by? There's a lot more unexpected growth for a certain type of demand here.
I would definitely say that it's video. Tons and tons of growth for video. And it's one of those things that just begins to snowball, right? Like TikTok has been growing forever. Instagram Reels has been really popular for a very long time. But a couple things happened in the social media industry recently. One was Instagram specifically said that they were not a photo sharing app. They are also a video content app, and they made Reels a really prominent piece of their offering. And then TikTok recently reached a billion users. And you saw a ton of influencers go from sort of hanging their hat on their Instagram strategy to really making a push to growing on TikTok, because there was a brand new audience there. And many consumers and businesses followed because that's where a lot of the newness started to be. So these two dual trends of these huge social media giants, both, being very, very good at video, and video being a content medium that's extremely engaging, is certainly a trend that a lot of our businesses are trying to keep up with. And it's a hard one, right? It's a really rich piece of content, and it takes a lot of time to create video content that you want to continue to share with the world. So we are doing our part to make it as easy as possible for people to plan that out, for them to repurpose their video content on different platforms, and make the learning curve a little bit easier for these businesses. Time
is the key word, because I was going to say, how do you actually then get companies, because a lot of them are small, right? The owner is the operator, the owner is the main person a lot of times, and they've got to put in all this time. So even if they have the tools, okay, now I need to go, let's say, make a video, or I need to go look at what our web presence is, our content. I need to stay updated. I need to do this, I need that, but I don't have time to do it because I'm trying to run the business, but I know I can do this too. So how do you get them to invest the time? Because maybe they don't have the budget to hire a person who's full-time working on all these things.
Yeah, a lot of them do hire people in scrappy ways. So oftentimes there are folks that you can hire for part-time work in social media management that can help with some of that heavy lifting, to record the videos, or to, give you a sense of what kinds of videos you might want to be recording. But what we found is really helpful is the planning of this before, like, to not make it overwhelming every single day. I think you need to record something new or take a new photo, is to plan out, okay, what types of content matter to my users. So if you're, a retail company, you probably want to showcase your products. You probably want to have some user-generated content of really positive reviews. Maybe you want to showcase yourself for your family or your employees, depending on how personal you want to get. And then maybe you're also, an expert in dressing for your body type or something like that. And if you sort of narrow down your choices of what content you're going to be putting out in the world to a couple of different content buckets, say 3 to 5, it makes it much more manageable for you to then say, okay, I'm going to take a couple of photos or take a couple of videos, on a Monday that are going to fit into these different buckets. And then I'm going to share those authentic pieces of content, rather than constantly like being in this cycle of trying to figure out what the new content is that you're going to put out there. So we found that the consistency and the authenticity has been most important, which it does take a little while for folks to sort of get into that groove. But for individuals who see a real return on their social media advertising, setting up that sort of cadence helps cut down on the amount of time that you need to spend doing those sorts of marketing activities, while still allowing you to have the benefit once you get that content out there.
And what is the typical cost for one of the products? Is it just a per monthly flat dollar fee? Is it some sort of percentage? How do you structure pricing?
Yep, our pricing is typical SaaS pricing. So we offer monthly and annual plans for a subscription cost. And it ranges from about $10 for our lowest price product for the lowest price plan, to up to many hundreds of dollars, depending on how many users and how many seats and which product you're purchasing. But a typical cost is more between, I'd say, $9 and $60 a month, depending on which product you are using.
That makes sense. And what are you seeing right now with possible recession fears, right? Inflation, labor shortages, supply chain shortages. How are you seeing the customer base reacting to that? Are they doubling down on marketing? Are they taking let me just wait and see because I don't know? Because some people take it as like, this is my time to invest more and get some market share. The others back away, right? They get scared and they cede that market share. What are you seeing on the macro data points?
Yeah, that's a good question. For the most part, we have seen customers continue to invest in the types of marketing that we help them do. And what I think the reason for that is, by and large, what we aid our customers in doing is critical. Like if they're choosing to buy one of our products, the activity that they are doing with our product is critical to the success of their business. So where we see folks pull back when they pull back on marketing, often they'll pull back on paid media spend first, because that's a sort of an easy thing to turn on and off and see how things are going with the business before you decide to make another investment in that. But with tools like ours, we see people pretty consistently continue to invest in them because the activities that they're doing are critical to the success of their business. We are seeing some, recession related questions come in on, okay, is this going to be as valuable to me if my customer base isn't as robust as it used to be? And those are questions that I think every business is asking themselves. But right now, the folks that are running the businesses who are customers of our products, like they're still running their businesses, and they still need to make sure that they're finding a way to grow and finding a way to get new customers and get their current customers to add value to the business. So they're continuing to invest with our products.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough world out there, and everyone's got to make that decision, right? It's a little bit of that. How risk averse do you want to be? How risk seeking do you want to be? What do you think? What's your just forecast for what the rest of the year looks like in terms of that macro environment?
Yeah, I think that the rest of the year, I think people are going to keep having some fears for a couple of months. Now, whether or not those fears come to fruition with a full-on recession, I don't know. But I know that there has been enough news circulating that things are getting more expensive, which they are. The economy is potentially getting weaker, and there's some data that backs that up. So I think that there's a lot of trepidation and a lot of people going cautiously, but I don't see a lot of people just stopping activities. I see a lot of questions being asked. I see perhaps things moving a little bit slower because people are asking more questions. But I don't see a lot of like what we saw in 2008, and certainly not what we saw with the COVID recession. So I am very, very hopeful that all of this is an abundance of caution and making sure that businesses are set up to thrive, if not just survive through a recessionary environment. But I'm hoping that does not come to fruition.
And this may just be a dumb question, but I'm always curious, when companies charge, let's say, $10 for something or $20, and there's a 10% inflation in the world, do you think, okay, we need to make it $12 or $24? Like, is that a conversation that's happening for, it's a weird thing, is it's like, all right, it's $1 or $2, but that's 10%. And so we're trying to keep up what's the internal conversation on what the right price point is?
Yeah, I think that especially for software products, it's very, very hard to keep your price point keeping up with inflation. So we, by and large, have not raised our prices to keep up with inflation. There's competitive considerations in that because you always want to be competitively priced in the marketplace. There's also just like, do we want to be one more thing that is costing people 10 or 20% more, depending on what the inflation rate has been? And that's not just something that we would necessarily default to. There are also business considerations that have caused us to increase some of our prices where we believe we were underpriced in the past. And that's because we have to pay our people more. And with the employees who work at our company are our greatest asset, and they are the individuals who are making these products and serving these customers. And wages have gone up. So that's something that we need to honor for our employees, and something that a price increase allows us to do that for our people.
Right. I was going to say, because you're balancing the same things, revenue coming in, what's the right price, but we have to pay our employees, and we know labor has been a lot more expensive. But so tell me, but you've had a lot of changes. So you're a new mom, you moved to Austin from San Francisco, you've got this new big job. That's 3 big things to change all in a year. How are you adjusting to, that move from San Francisco to Austin, being a new mom, having this job? Like that's a lot. Any one of those would be a lot. You're doing all three at the same time. How are you doing that?
Eric, I think it's best to just pull the Band-Aid off. I also got married recently.
Pull all three Band-Aids off at the same time, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I think that the big shock to the system and the stuff that's going on in your life helps you adjust, because you're like hitting a reset button on everything. So I actually thought it was kind of nice. But yes, I'm a new mom. I have an almost 11-month-old son who is learning how to walk and being very cute most of the time, and occasionally a little terror. But adjusting to being a new mom was by far the hardest of those three changes. Moving was, tough for 3 days, but exciting once we got here and we were able to settle in. And then the new job, is tough in different ways, but is something that after you've done it for a while, you at least feel like you're getting better at. Whereas being a mom, it's like,
you feel like you're getting worse as we have 3 kids at home, and my wife and I, and just like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
I don't know what I'm doing.
Way easier than being a parent, right?
Yeah, I know. It's wild. And like, especially in that first year of life. And yeah, I mean, even those first couple of months after having the baby, your life is just totally off the rails. You're not getting any sleep, and you have this new little human to keep alive, and they can't really communicate with you. And so some things in that respect are getting easier now that he's older, but it was just a wild ride, and has forced me in my professional life to be much, much more productive, because you just don't have the time, right? Like, I can't just work all day long. I need to have my schedule around childcare and around, what the baby needs. So in some ways, I think that's maybe a blessing in disguise for your professional life, because you do just like need to get through things and get them done. But it's been fun overall.
It's like every 60-minute meeting, let's do it in 25 minutes. And we don't need a full hour for this. I got other things to do.
Yeah, exactly.
My tip will be the next year is the really hard one, because as they start walking, I have an 18-month, this is our third right now, and she's just like the worst, because it's like they're mobile enough to get into stuff, but not smart enough to avoid the thing. So that's when you're like, let's go start turning the oven on, or grab knives from the kitchen. So
you're like, no.
What is the scene in Austin been like relative to traditional Bay Area, Silicon Valley? What's that adjustment been like for you in terms of the ecosystem in the marketplace?
Man, I wish I got out more to be able to give a good answer to this question. I think COVID has changed it, and I can't say exactly if the Bay Area has changed in a similar way, but I do think, the Bay Area was like, everything was tech. It was incredible if you met anybody that did not work in tech, which obviously is not the case, because it's a city that needs to run with other functions, but it just felt like tech dominated the entire Bay Area. Whereas Austin, tech is huge here and growing, and many tech companies are moving their headquarters here. But it does feel a lot more balanced. There's a lot of just other things that are big in Austin. There's a live music scene. There's a ton of other types of careers that people do here, and it didn't seem, I guess, as professionally diverse in the Bay Area. So I found that refreshing, that, my neighbors have completely different careers than me, and you can kind of get sort of a different flavor.
Like the tech world, my guess in the Bay Area, if all of a sudden it feels like, there's, tech money's drying up and all the stocks are going down in lands, it feels like the entire universe was maybe in Austin. It's like, okay, that's just the tech industry here, but not the entire universe of everybody that we know.
Yeah, it's a little bit less of a bubble. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. But you're probably not getting out much with the little kid anyway, so you're plenty busy.
No, my activities these days are like my backyard and the neighborhood pool. So I don't have a ton of like professional networking. But that's okay.
You're in a similar boat. We're in a similar boat. This has been fantastic. Christina, thank you so much for the conversation. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Thank you to my guest, and thanks for listening. Subscribe to get the latest episodes each week, and we'll see you next time.